Welcome back to another episode of Thanks for the Consult. I'm Fior. Today, as always, we have Aaron,
So
and today's guest is Caitlin. Caitlin, how are you?
I'm excellent.
So, for those of you that don't know Caitlin, she's been in EMS over a decade now, 11 years. She's paramedic supervisor and a lover of baked potatoes. Which you'll get to see if you find her on Facebook. Our biggest pressing question is, what is your favorite IV catheter?
You're going to hate this, but it's a 20 gauge. There's nothing you can't put through a 20 gauge IV.
I use 20 gauges more than pretty much anything else, unless I'm like, oh, they're gonna need a lot of blood at then
Right.
I'll
In
get something
very
bigger.
specific circumstances, like I can see why you would put a larger bore IV.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
do you guys ever just toss in a 24 to see the look on the hospital's face?
No, if I'm grabbing a 24, it's because they're smaller, their veins are crap.
Right.
Like I'm putting like a 24 like right here.
Yeah.
And
well, you like to surprise them by like, no, I do have an 18 in the right AC, but they got long sleeves on, so you roll the sleeves down, and then they just see a 24 in the hand. They're like, what's? Yeah, that's all we could get.
On your trauma patient,
about that.
multi-system trauma patient, we're rolling in with a 24
for legal reasons.
That's the shit the VA would do. Honestly.
No,
Times I've walked into that place and they'll be like, "Oh, we started an IV," and it's like a 22 in the hand, and you're like, "This guy has excellent veins. Why is this the site?" And I had them put an IV between someone's knuckles one time for no reason. I like immediately put an IV in the guy's like forearm or AC.
Nice. Have you seen those videos on Facebook? They're absolutely infuriating, but it's like it's in some foreign country because I don't understand the language. But they're starting IVs and they'll have the biggest, juiciest vein I've ever seen, and it's a 24 going into the AC. I'm like, what are you doing? Come on. Like my wife gets real upset when I watch this because I'm like, this is bullshit.
I think that's just your algorithm, dog.
It is. I don't know. But yeah, so that's my infuriating IV video.
Do you use the self-occluding or the non-self-occluding?
For a self-occluding,
I
really hate the surprise of when you're expecting a self-occluding and then it turns out not to be a self-occluding, because then you just look stupid. Which is my day-to-day anyway, so it's like I don't need any help to look stupid. Thanks, IV catheters.
I can do it all on my own.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Aaron, why don't you tell us about your goofy take on IV needles?
I hate self-occluding catheters.
Why?
He believes that patients inherently have too much blood and some needs to be let out.
Correct. I am a practitioner of the medieval bloodletting. I do think it is. I do think it is core naturalistic, osteopathic medicine, if you will.
There is some.
I think it's good. I think it's good for people. I think there's a lot of overweight people out there. What's a great way to help them lose weight?
No, let me keep my blood. I should stop eating fried foods.
Right.
If you don't have enough energy to eat, then you'll lose even more weight because you have no blood.
Perfect.
I don't know what 6 liter or 6 pints, give or take, 6 to 8 pints, give or take, of blood would weigh, but my guess is it's not that much. Like a couple of pounds.
I would bet that the density would be like similar to water. So what, 7 pounds for a gallon?
It's for sure thicker, but yeah.
Yeah.
It's more viscous.
Yeah.
Right. Which would mean the density would be higher. I would guess the density of blood is probably much higher than the density of water.
We'll give it 10 pounds a gallon.
Well, viscosity is an independent property from density.
No, yeah. Wow.
But there's also
that has a lot to do with intermolecular forces.
Correct. No.
Or there's also more things in than either way. You can't just take people's blood out and be like, I solved your weight problem.
No, so on a real note though, the reason I don't like it is I feel like one, I don't like the wings that come on a lot of the self-occluding catheters. I feel like the wings get in the way a lot. I'm not a fan of those. I feel like they tend to be longer catheters, which again, I do not like that. I like to have like more mobility, I guess. I feel like I've just
1 1/4 inches, but
I feel like a lot of them blow. I'm not a fan of them. I feel like I don't get good flash into the chamber, and then I advance it too far, and then I'm like, I don't like this. So I know immediately whenever it works because that thing fills right up.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean,
I don't,
this
I,
sounds like user
yeah.
error and not a problem with self-occluding catheters, but
Aaron, I'm
I feel
gonna,
attacked.
I'm gonna get you a self-occluding IV catheter that doesn't have wings and the needle is not longer than any other IV catheter needle out there.
I
Or you
mean,
can just like cut
so
the wings off a bunch of IV catheters.
Yes. No,
well,
the
are you
ones.
You're a
talking
good
about
friend,
little?
bro.
Because there's difference. Like the old self-occluding catheters used to have like the tiny little
Mhm.
triangles. Now they have ones that have like actual wings on them that you're supposed to
Yeah,
use
I
to like
hate those.
insert.
Well,
I
those
agree, but the little wings were like just there so you could secure the IV, so you could secure the
the
catheter.
big wings are there for like pediatric and neonate use, where like you can't actually tape it to their skin, and you could like run something through the wing and
I
wrap it
see.
around. I don't know why they put it on all the larger. Because if you're starting an 18 on a neonate, you have gone horribly awry. So
Yeah,
Wait, what would you run through the wings? Like a piece of string or something?
like I don't
like
know, tape maybe
cling,
or
like
yeah.
gauze, just something,
But why wouldn't you just use regular tape?
because their skin is too fragile to tape to.
I
More
guess that
fragile than old
tracks for
people?
old people though as well, like people
What?
who have
Yeah.
fragile skin. Yeah.
What was that,
I
Aaron?
just do you have to like become a Boy Scout and like learn a bunch of knots and stuff to do like these old IV catheters?
I mean, I can set you up with my wife. She was a neonatal ICU nurse for like 12 years. She can tell
But
you
was she a
all about
scout
it.
leader?
Not to my knowledge.
Then how am I learning the knots?
I don't know. Maybe she knows a scout leader, perhaps.
Okay. Yeah.
Um,
Have her people talk to my people.
yeah, no, I will. Also, I know an actual Boy Scout that we can set you up with.
There you go.
That sounds like a setup.
He's also bald like you. So
Really?
yeah, maybe it's like an important trait. We can ask
Kindred
him.
spirits.
Yeah, Caitlin, you know him too.
Who's that?
Oh, you know, you have an Eagle Scout under your employ.
Well, I do now.
I'm still working on getting him on here.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. But Caitlin, tell us, how did you get started in EMS? Like, what made you decide that you wanted to do this crazy lifestyle that is EMS?
So I went to Pitt with every intention of going to medical school.
Okay.
And I got there and realized I was a terrible student. And I limped my way through to junior year or to sophomore year when I took an EMT class through the center. And they told us about the paramedic program, and I was in. So
Yeah. Hey,
so
I
I
like it.
went as a medic. It's super unpopular. I get it all the time, but I went directly from EMT class to medic class with no EMT experience. I had
Zero
basically
to
never done
hero.
it on a truck before I got to
Yeah. So
paramedics.
I have a weird view on that. Like, I think you're either going to be a great medic or a total crap medic, and I know some that are in both categories, right?
Right.
Like you, Juanita, both zero to hero, do fine, do great. I know some other people who we're not going to call out that, like, it's just, huh? Like, is this your first call ever? Like, I thought I saw you on one earlier, but like, it still feels like it's your first call ever. Like,
I
every
mean, it's
time.
definitely a learning curve.
Oh yeah.
So
But you also don't have bad habits and
right.
shortcuts beat into your head that
Yeah.
you're going to use
Well, you don't have
later.
any habits.
Well,
Right.
You know
exactly.
nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. But how many people in medic classes have, they try to do something and you're like, well, that may work, but like you still need to wipe the site down before you put an
Right.
IV through there. Like, we don't want to give them an infection. Just like stupid, that's a stupid example, but you know what I mean? They have a bad habit that
Right.
they learned from a medic partner or just kind of whatever. So
Yeah.
there is some merit to it as well, I think. I mean, Aaron, you're not exactly zero to hero, but you had very limited truck time before medic class, correct?
Yeah, it was about a year. It was a year that I was an EMT, and then that's when I started medic class. It would be about 2 years till I became.
Yeah. Which, I mean, and you did predominantly like IFT service, correct? Like you were doing a lot of interfacilities more than
When you were BLS, you
911.
did a lot of interfacilities, but it was probably about
Okay.
50-50.
Okay. So I mean, and again, nothing wrong with that, but you don't necessarily get the experience. Like I think I started after my first renewal was when I started, and then I don't know that that's better or worse. I don't know. So
Yeah.
But I think there's like a myth that like you should get so many different types of calls before that you like go from like EMT to paramedic, and it's just unrealistic. Like
yeah,
There's
I have
never
yet to have a gunshot wound.
right.
yeah. I can
Just
shoot you
depends on
later
where
if
you
you'd
work.
like. I got you, Brett.
Thanks, Tom.
I mean, there are people who go decades in their career and never see a certain type of call anyway. Like I'm 10 years in or 11 years in, and I have never even once come close to like delivering a baby. So if you're working, if you
Lucky.
use that logic, it's like, well, you could go 2 decades before you're ready to be a medic. It's like,
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I think the only thing that I would say that you have to get ready for, in a sense, is figuring out like, okay, is this something I want to do? Because going to paramedic class is not nearly the same commitment as an EMT or a first responder, even an AEMT class. It's far more involved. You have a ton of clinical time, truck time.
right,
The learning is super in depth. So making sure like, hey, this is something I want to do. I'm going to dedicate the time and effort into it to be successful, I think.
right,
Especially now that like paramedic class is several $1,000s, not $800, which even at 800, like you still want to be sure, but like you don't have to be as sure as at
right.
8,000. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But that would be my take, and it's expansive for a reason. Like, what other sect of healthcare can you do all of the things that we do? Like, even
right,
in the physician world, they specialize in like a very niche area. I would say the closest would be ER physicians, and really most larger hospitals, if somebody needs intubated, anesthesia comes or
right.
respiratory comes, if there's a goofy 12 lead cardiology's consulted, and like so we get to do a lot of really cool things, which
This is my cardiology consult.
that's right. Hold this strip up to the cup. See?
Right. Just,
Sorry, sir. I'm trying to look to see if you have a heart attack. Can you stay still for me?
Yeah. I'm gonna need to know where that cup came from. I have some folks I want to get that for. It
My boss.
well, if you could ask him where he got it, that'd
I'm
be
sure it came from like Etsy or Amazon or
No, he
something.
makes his own. He's a fancy man.
Oh.
like he hand painted all those.
Listen, I
I
don't
want to
ask
meet
these
this
kinds of
man.
questions. Okay. If I would have
Any
studied, if I knew there was a quiz.
no, just
No quiz.
pop quiz, man. Expect it. So Caitlin, I have had the pleasure of working with you now at two services,
Yes.
just two, I think. Yeah, just
Mhm.
two. And the first service we worked at together, I think I worked with you literally just one time, one shift, ran one call. Like we would have occasionally like the E0 where like we would both end up like we're like she had a steady partner, I had a steady partner, like we like, but it wasn't each other. So like we'd occasionally end up on a call together, but like one time due to call offs or so, I don't know, something, we worked one
Right.
shift, had one call, one patient, and it was a very confusing patient. Um,
Yes.
Do you want to tell the story, or do you want me to tell the
No,
story?
you tell the story. I mean, it's certainly you remember the story much more vividly than I do. I guess
It
that's the thing.
left
So
an
like
impression.
people used to tell me that I was a black cloud, and that's not necessarily the case. But if something weird has happened, I have seen it. Like I mean, besides the story that you're about to tell, like my favorite story is the I had a guy on February 15th get a Sharpie stuck in his penis.
Yeah, we're gonna we'll delay my story. Let's hear about that one.
Oh, okay. So there's and I had to look it up. I'm not a thing I'm into. But there's a thing, it's called sounding. And they sell like professional instruments to use for this, like, but this guy didn't have any. So he inserted the plastic part of a Sharpie into his urethra, which I think in theory it's supposed to be metal. And then you hit the top of it, it vibrates and it's supposed to feel good. I don't know what the point of the Sharpie was, or what he thought he was going to get out of it. But then he put it in and he couldn't get it back out.
So
So
a
he
hospital
called
trip is what he got
911.
out of it.
When I tell people this story, I tell people, like, still to this day, one of my biggest regrets in EMS is not looking at that penis, which nobody ever says, because we've all seen a lot of penises we didn't want to. And
the
like,
naked people you see are rarely the ones that you're like, all right, well, that's okay. Normally it's like, ugh, why?
Yeah. But like, I should have been more curious in that moment. It was, to be fair, it was like 3:30 in the morning and I had been woken up from sleep. But
so why was that a regret for you specifically?
Not looking at the penis, because now I can't describe the penis to people when I'm like, hey, there was a Sharpie in this penis. I don't know. I mean,
naturally the questions I have are, what color was the Sharpie? Does
the
color
Sharpie
make
was
a
black,
difference?
but he had removed the ink part of it. So it was like one of those fine tip Sharpies. And like, he removed the ink part of it and it was just the outside, the plastic on the outside, I think. I don't know.
Why?
I just like, but even like sitting here thinking, like talking about it, it's like, this was never going to end well for this guy. Like,
No.
I wonder if Sharpie is like porcupine quills, where like they're designed to get deeper the longer that they like sit there.
Or they're barbed, so when you pull it out, it like gets stuck. I don't know.
Right.
I don't think
at any
Sharpie
point
is,
did you
like,
consider like removing it?
No. They had to call in a urologist to do it. Like, they almost sent this guy to like the ER docs wouldn't even do it. So
To be fair, we're not allowed to remove an impaled object unless it's impeding their
That's true.
airway. So that for sure qualifies as an impaled object.
yeah, I mean, I think you could get away with like a taser bar, but I think if you were like, hey, I just
think that's
pulled
an
this out of
inserted object.
Either way, I'm not going to be the
Semantics.
one to pull it out. That's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, he tried apparently for hours to get it out. So
Hours?
I guess.
Lord.
The best part of the story is that it happened on February 15th.
Yeah.
And his wife came out behind him just laughing at him because I don't think she was involved in this thing.
That's amazing.
So yeah.
Was this did you also have a female partner?
No.
That's
I
unfortunate because this guy, the last thing he probably wants to see is two women show up when he has something stuck in his penis.
Yeah.
We got to track this guy
who's super
down.
glued a catheter in.
Huh?
I know a guy who's super glued his catheter in place.
Yikes.
Do tell.
I mean, he kept pulling it. Like he would like you know how it has like the long loop and stuff. Like he'd go to stand up and then he'd like step on it and pull it out, and then he would blame the catheter as if he was not the one who was the problem in this situation. And we'd take him to the hospital. He'd get it put back in. He'd pee blood for a couple of days, and whoop-de-doo, we're all good to go, right? And then he'd do it again a few days later. So I guess he had enough.
Why didn't the hospital just give him a shorter tubing?
Listen,
like, you can cut
I have as many questions as you do.
I think they have leg bags that you can just like put directly, like it's like there's no loop. Like,
there was a lot of solutions to this problem before the one that he came to.
None of them were super glue.
Correct.
So
he.
What was his plan for changing it?
Right.
There was one mission, Fiora.
Get it to
stop the catheter from coming out.
I can imagine that hurts.
Super glue. Well, so he did it, and then he called 911 whenever he couldn't pee because
super glue.
Wow.
And then the girl on the transport that took the call, he's like, do you want to like look at it? And she was like, I guess I probably should. And she was like inspecting it. He basically like tricked her into like feeling him up. I was like, this dude might have just come up with the like all-time most complicated scheme to get somebody to like.
I feel like it would be easier if he just wanted somebody to give him a little love.
Just ask me.
Well, that's a little too direct, but
yeah, but it's also, even if you fail, you didn't super glue your urethra strut.
Right.
Right.
So
Low cost investment.
yeah, that's one of those. Is the risk worth the reward? And in that case, I suggest it may not be,
Right.
because I imagine that would involve some type of scraping and pulling and removing of skin layers to get that problem solved. And depending on how deep it is,
Yeah.
that's
Well, right. What I mean, I guess like, did he like when you put in an NPA, you like lube up the whole thing and then insert it, or he just like super glued it at the top so it would stay?
There's lots of questions that could be asked here.
Aaron. We need to get this person on the podcast. We have questions that absolutely need answered here.
I always
For
have so
sure.
many questions. Yeah.
I'll see what I can do.
I appreciate it. And we'll, that will maybe make that like a live call in episode so people can ask their questions.
Yeah. Let me know. I'll call in.
Absolutely. I'm going to let everybody know.
Yes.
Can you rent the Goodyear blimp to put like,
Right. You just need a plane with one of those banners just like flying across
yes,
the sky.
pretty much. Yes. That's wow. Both of those stories hurt me physically.
Yes. But anyway, back to our one call ever.
Yeah. So our one call ever, uh, we get called for like syncope, I think.
I think it came through as like like unknown breathing or something, because we did send a lot of people.
We did, yeah. It came in weird. You're right. It was probably
Yeah.
unknown breathing. We get there and the lady's on the toilet, so like instantly everybody's mind is like, oh, she bageled down. She was trying to poo. No big deal. Let's get her checked out. Make sure she's fine. Nice little ride down to the hospital. So we're doing like the normal things: blood pressure, put on the 4 lead, check her sugar, and it's like, all right, well, let's do a 12 lead. Like everything's checking out so far. And she was an older gal and had gravity had taken effect, so there was a
Floppy titties
necessity.
is what you're trying
Yeah,
to say.
pretty much. There
Is
was
that the medical term?
That's the medical
it
term.
is,
Yeah.
yeah.
Cool.
So as I lifted up her left breast to apply the 12 lead, just like it, she just started to poop, like just violently poop. I was like, oh, okay. So like, I'm like, we can give her a second. So like, I put that
If
down.
I may for a second, do you think this is like, how there's like the ancient art, I forget what it's called, but like where there's like pressure points and it like triggers different stuff metabolically and things like,
Well,
did you just
yes,
find that for her?
I think
Like a
so.
titty switch to the bowels.
Did you
Because
pull the lever cronk?
I did, but Aaron, listen, I'm not kidding when I tell you, like, I put it down and the poop stopped
Yeah.
immediately. Like literally, like I shut the valve.
It was like a valve.
Yeah. And then I was like, okay, maybe she's done. So like I'd lift it up again and it started. I was like, what the? I put it down, it would stop. I'm like, Caitlin, you need to come over here.
How
'Cause,
many
like,
times did you test it?
like 3 or 4. At one point, Caitlin's like, I don't know, just put it on, whatever. Okay. But also, my thought is like, I'd like all of this to come out here and
Right.
not like we hit a bump and it bounces too high and all of a sudden, like, we've got a mess to clean up. You know what I mean? So, which that wouldn't be the only time that on a call with Caitlin, I had gotten poo on me. To be fair, but yeah, so that was, we couldn't figure it out. And to this day, I've never seen that again. But
Yeah.
lifting of her left breast just opened up the floodgates and shit everywhere.
Did you pass his information on to the hospital?
Absolutely. They need that kind of information.
I mean,
I thought, yeah,
that's her if they don't have that information specifically.
exactly. How would they adequately?
Right.
Yeah. It's just, yeah, it's crazy. The second time I got poo on me with Caitlin, she was working at a neighboring service. It was overnight. We get a cardiac arrest. So it triggered them to come back us up. And then also, like, there was another service on scene, which was good because this lady was heavy and upstairs, and we got Rosk. But whenever we get to the hospital to unload her, we didn't have power load stretchers, which, was unfortunate. But whenever you unload those, you kind of drop down a little bit, and there's like now a nice little angle on the stretcher. Well, like just poo just comes flooding down. She was on her Reeves and just like soaked me from nipple to knee in just poo. And the hospital had to give me psych scrubs.
I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure you had to wear the paper scrubs of shame.
I
So
did, and security thought I was escaping from a psych hold. There was a lot of questions,
right.
and as I remember, my partner did not do anything to help me out with security. Like they just watched as security's grilling me on like escaping. I'm like, no, 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 look, like I have my ID and like my clothes are covered in poo and like
I would have walked up and been like, I've never seen him before.
Well, it's like one of those things. The more you tell people you're not crazy, the less they believe you.
exactly.
Yeah, I
Especially when you're
know.
like, but I was covered in poo, so I needed these. Like,
Like that makes it
well,
worse.
yeah,
You know who gets covered in poo? Crazy people.
yeah. And then so after that debacle with security, I went down. It was at Presby, the old, like when you came up around the little bend thingy. I went down to the end to smoke a cigarette, and the pants were just like 4 sizes too big. I had them tied as tight as I could. And as I'm smoking my cigarette, my pants just like fall to the ground. I'm like, this is just perfect. Like, how could this night get any better? So,
Now you're going to get arrested.
right?
Did you have to run a call on the paper scrubs?
No, I put us out of service until I got clothes back on that were not made of paper. So it's also, if I remember correctly, like mid-July or something. So it's like extremely humid. So like I'm sweating through these paper scrubs at a clip. Like,
You should have just been like, give me 2 more pairs because I'm going to need them before we get back to the station.
yeah. And I was like, can I get some, do you guys have any scrubs like from like the OR or something? And they're
Right.
like,
At
we
least
can just give you
pants. Like,
paper.
because the shirt, like, if your shirt is sweaty, like, it happens to the best of
Yeah.
us. But, like, sweaty pants is kind of a thing that
Looks
nobody
like,
wants to see.
yeah, it looks like you peed yourself or
Right.
worse, liquidly pooed yourself. Um, you
Yeah.
know, for those that are just kind of finding out what EMS is like through this podcast, yes, there's a lot of poo involved, but I still maintain it is the best job in the world. But there is a lot of poo.
There aren't so as this is the perfect job for me because there's not a lot of things that gross me out. Like there's not a single smell that I've ever been like, "Oh my god, I can't. I have to leave."
Challenge accepted.
Yeah. One time, I forgot about this story. One time I almost vomited in the back of an ambulance. And it was this lady who was so confused. And I don't know, I think her husband said something about like high ammonia levels, or I don't know if she had like a bowel obstruction. But either way, she was like very obtunded. And I get her in the back of the ambulance and she starts vomiting, which in and of itself like doesn't really bother me. I'm not a huge fan of the sound of vomiting, but like the smell, the sight, like it doesn't matter. But this lady starts vomiting and she's so confused that she's throwing up into her mouth and chewing it and swallowing it back down. And it was the only time I've ever almost lost my lunch in the back of an ambulance. Yeah.
Oh,
And it was like this god awful, like, which is why I think maybe she had a bowel obstruction because it was like this god awful, like light brown color. So not only is she vomiting and re swallowing it, but I think she's vomiting stool. That's
yeah.
like awful. I'm begging this lady, please. I'm holding the bag. I'm like, please
Yeah.
spit that into this bag. And she's so confused. She doesn't know the difference.
Uh,
But yeah, I
I
spent
need an
20
adult.
minutes to the hospital just begging this lady to spit into a bag.
did you like, I, I'm, did you give her anything like Geparidol, Zofran, anything?
This was pre-Droperidol, but I'm sure I gave her Zofran,
Yeah,
but it just
that's a
didn't.
bummer because I
Yeah.
found a lot of people, especially like the chronically ill, they've had so much Zofran, it's just like lost its effectiveness on them.
I find that Zofran is only good for like idiopathic nausea. Like, I don't find that it's really good for like anything besides.
Yeah.
Like, it's not good. I mean, I'm sure it helps people,
Yeah.
but I think part of it is just like in your brain, you think it's helping. Um,
What was wrong with Phenegrin? Why did they take that away from us? I can't remember.
I have no idea.
That I feel like that used to work pretty well, but I do like Geperidol.
I was
Geperidol
gonna
works.
say I've heard that Driperidol works pretty well.
My threshold is like I'm nauseous a little bit, you get Zofran. But if like once you start puking, Geperidol.
Yeah. I think that's the other thing is like Zofran is good for nausea, but it's not really good for vomiting. Like I
No,
get that it's an antiemetic, but it's like once you start vomiting, it's not particularly effective.
that makes sense.
Just anecdotally. So
Yeah. Aaron, you look like you're deep in thought over there.
I may or may not be researching why phenergan isn't used anymore.
Perfect. What have you come up with?
So far one Google search.
I'll expect a PowerPoint later this week.
Okay.
So, all right.
Severe tissue damage, it says.
Well,
that would not have been my guess, but
yeah.
Yeah, tissue necrosis when you put it through an IV.
Same with D50, but we do that. So
not anymore.
You do that.
Yeah.
no, I use the D10 like I'm supposed to. And actually, it's a lot easier. D50 is like hella difficult to push.
Right.
Speaking of viscous things.
Yeah. That
I
to
did
me
have to
is
push D50 through an IO one time, and I had
oh,
to put my whole weight onto it. Yeah.
yeah. That does not seem pleasant. I've been
It
like,
wasn't.
hopefully there was a cop be like, hey, when you're done Narcaning this diabetic, do you mind pushing this in?
It was a lady, I think, who had like massive sepsis. And that was the other time. One more time I almost vomited because she had the most rancid smelling urine I've ever experienced.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like I said, that stuff usually doesn't bother me, but it was god
Yeah.
awful.
I
But yeah.
had a call where the guy had his like leg was cut and it was like necrotic and there was maggots in it that were like
Ooh.
they were like they were actively like hatching into flies or whatever that whole process is called,
Oh
Aaron. I'm
my
sure you
God.
know. Yeah, so we just covered like we wrapped it tight with like several layers of cling.
Right.
And we're like, we brought them down to Presbyterian. We're like, they're like, oh yeah, you can go to the hall. I'm like, well,
You might not want that.
so you know, like there's like maggots turning
I'm
into
surprised they didn't
flies.
put him in the decontamination room.
They did eventually because the one nurse, she's like, let me look at it. I'm like, I'm telling you, you don't want to do that. And my partner, it wasn't even my call. Like I just drove on this one. My partner was like, yeah, be my guest. They open it up and like flies start coming out. I was like, oh my God. Like, why didn't you tell me? We did several times. You just didn't listen.
At some point, you have to let people find out if they want to fuck around. Like they just, yeah. If you're not going to believe me, like, and I get it, we're probably a little bit dramatic as a whole.
Yeah.
But also when you've seen the things we've seen as a whole, you'd probably be a little bit dramatic too. So
I agree.
yeah.
And ugh.
I actually have never had anyone with bugs on them. That would be a hard no for me.
Yeah.
I would have to. I
Even
mean,
bed bugs? Never seen bed bugs?
maybe once, but like not
Oh, come to
very
Bedford
often.
County, baby. We can get that for you.
Check that off the list.
No, thank you. No.
There's this frequent flyer that I go to, I'd say once every week or two. And the fire department always shows up because it's like, I don't know, a block from the fire station. The QRS is it. So every time I get there, they're like, don't set your bags down there. You got bed bugs and cockroaches. I was like, I don't know how I'm going to be able to hold the heart monitor and apply it. So like, could you hold it? I've got a clipboard. All right. Well, guess we're just going to pray and wipe it down after.
Yeah.
And they actually, fun fact, I was there last week and somebody came out of the basement who I'd never seen before. Is like screaming.
It's
He's
always
like,
comforting.
this house was condemned by the visiting nurses. I was like, I don't know if they could do that, but
I don't think they have that authority.
yeah, but like I agree with them for sure. Because like this house is a mess. Like there's no flooring. It's just like plywood and there's holes in that.
Yikes.
There's like 1,000 I'm assuming feral cats, like they just kind of took over. Like I feel like they were invaded by cats.
They're just barn cats, but they don't live in the barn
Yeah.
anymore.
Like this is their barn now. Like I feel like
Well, from what you're
yeah.
describing, it sounds like a barn. So
I can see how the cats got confused,
they're like
honestly.
right at home.
Yeah. Like, there's literally like
Uh,
one light bulb in the house that works, and they like take it from room to room and like screw it in. Like
I can bring
it's
them some
nuts.
light bulbs. That's not. I mean, the incandescent ones are like
Yeah.
62 cents a piece.
Well, I also like I don't want to encourage them to stay there because like I don't
We
know
don't want to make
how
it any more homey.
yeah, like I don't know how far away from the house just collapsing in on everybody, like how far away that is, but it
Right.
cannot be far. Like there's buckets like strewn about, and I'm assuming that's because the roof's leaking. I'm hoping it's because the roof's
It's
leaking.
not just urine and buckets.
I've never really tested it. It's one of
I
those.
mean, I think a sniff test would be
mm,
an accurate test of whether or not it's rainwater or urine.
So the problem is with like 15 cats pissing everywhere, everything
Right.
smells like cat
Everything smells
piss.
like this.
Like, I
I
don't
can get
know.
you some pH strips.
Honestly, that seems like I'd have to spend even an extra 3 seconds in that house. Like,
Yeah.
my goal on scene there, because I always beat the ambulance there because it's much closer to our station, is to see like, can I get this human outside?
Right.
Because I would much rather be in the pouring down rain than in this house. That is how gross it is. So like you
Yeah.
always feel like you need a shower after leaving because you're like, I know nothing's on me, but I feel like something's on me. And it's just, and it's like that thick stink that gets stuck in your nose hairs or your
Right.
mustache. It's,
Ugh.
ugh. Anyways,
That is a bad smell.
This
yeah,
has been a very
that's,
vile episode so far.
yes, yes.
Well, I tell everybody I'm a disgusting human being, so this is just day to day for me. So
Cool. On brand.
yeah, yeah. Also, I do kind of, I mean, like I do like a little bit of shock value. So
I feel
Well,
like
this will
Aaron,
not
you
shock
should
anybody
appreciate
based
that.
on. Oh, I do appreciate shock value. I don't think that this will shock anybody based on our history at this point.
Yeah. I mean,
no.
a couple of the more recent episodes have been pretty shocking, I suppose. So now we're just on brand. I like it.
Yeah.
But yeah. So Caitlin, you've done several different types of EMS. Now you kind of work in, I don't want to say it, like more of an administrative role. What are your do you like doing stuff like that? You miss being on the trucks?
I
What's that
I
transition been like?
do. I'll say that when I started as the supervisor, I didn't miss it, and I think that was probably um a a good time for me to like step back a little bit.
Yeah.
Because through COVID, I had worked like probably 90 to 100 hours a week for basically an entire year. And I had just severely burnt myself out. So when I started doing this like about a year and a half ago, I didn't miss it at first. I was like, wow, I actually missed that way less than I thought I would. But now that I've kind of reset and restored, I do miss it. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I mean, I think that's good though, that you still have that, passion, desire to be out there helping folks. Um,
Yeah.
you
I
know,
mean,
sure.
like I said, when I started this and I was like, huh, I actually don't miss that. Like
Mm.
it was the first time in 10 years that I'd had a normal sleep schedule and that I hadn't had to like leave work and go directly to a family function and stay up for 32 hours. So it was like,
Yeah.
cause it's hard. I mean, I prefer night shift.
Yeah.
And so it's really hard because not only is everybody awake during the day,
Mm.
um, idiots, but they're also like, it's you work weekends, so you're missing a lot of things then, and
Oh
you
yeah.
work holidays, which I don't mind working, but it's like people who don't do shift work don't understand that like that's just the nature of the business.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's
Yeah.
funny how often, um, it'll be a family function. Somebody sends a text to my wife and I. It's like, oh, hey, can you guys come? And now that she's working like an office type like job within nursing, she's off weekends, holidays, things like that. And she's like, oh, I'll be there with yours working. And they're like, oh, he's always working. Yeah, that's kind of how this. Yeah,
Right.
if only we could figure out how to make people not need emergency medical care on
Right.
weekends,
On
evenings, and
weekends.
holidays.
Yeah.
It's
Then we
always the
could
most inconvenient times.
Right.
exactly, yeah. But yeah, so people don't seem to understand it, but yeah, those that
Yeah.
are in the life, they tend to get it. So
Yeah. I will say the thing I hate the most about the admin side is working 5 days a week. Like,
yeah.
I took for granted that, like, working 3 days a week, like, I would take like one day a week and just like lay in bed until 1 p.m. And like, I don't have that luxury anymore, which is terrible.
Well, like if you could get one of those like little trays that you could do set your laptop on in bed and then like kind of
But I still have
achieve
to
that.
do work, which
Well,
is really
yeah.
I can't mindlessly scroll TikTok.
Fair point. I
Yeah.
don't I don't know that I have a solution for that.
No, it's okay.
You could just not do your job and see how long it takes for somebody to notice.
I guess I hadn't considered that. There is an option, Caitlin.
Right.
So,
Right.
It's actually hard to get fired nowadays.
well,
I mean, I guess depending on what you would do, yeah, it might take somebody a while to be like, huh, none of
Like
this
if you're
work is getting
nice,
done.
like if you're nice and you're like, nah, like I just didn't do it, my bad, homie. You'll be like, all right.
Well, and I'm also not talking about like never working again. I'm just saying, like, I could use a morning or two a week to just be like, I don't
Have
have
you tried
anything to do.
gaslighting?
Have I tried what?
Gaslighting.
I try not to do that.
Just like tell your admin, like, you give me way too much work. There's no possible way that I could ever get this done. You put so much stress on me that I need this extra time to lay in bed. How dare you? How dare you put this on me?
I'd never considered that.
yeah, Aaron,
I probably won't, but thanks for the advice.
I have never seen somebody so vigilant in making disciples of gaslighting. Like,
Yeah, usually we consider that a bad thing.
yeah, Aaron, you're giving off real cult leader vibes right now. Like,
I would
Especially with
I
the
would
bald
love
head.
to be in a cult. I would love to be in a cult.
well, I mean,
I'm actually fascinated by cults, but I feel like I'm immune to the charms of a cult.
No.
what are
I
the
I
charms?
just convinced you to gaslight your bosses, so no.
I mean, I think you did, but
No, it's
that's
in
what's
there.
happening here.
It's in there. It's in there.
Aaron, I think the good news though is that joining a cult is pretty easy. I think you just show up and you're like, yeah, no, I like Kool-Aid. Let's drink it. Like they're not.
Move to Oregon because there's
Well, it's
so many cults out there.
it's more about finding the right cult for me.
Uh,
You need to start like a dating app for cults.
but for cults, oh
Yeah.
yeah,
So you can match yourself to the right one.
yeah.
Yeah, like more like a LinkedIn for cults. It's
No,
we're
I
more
like-
professional than a dating app.
I
It's
don't
more
know.
professional.
I like
don't.
the dating app vibe.
Well,
for
then
the
you can. Yeah,
cult
you can like
finder.
swipe right and left on cults. You
And
know.
like if you get close to a cult building, like an alert will come off and be like, "Hey, you're close to,
Right. Check
this
this cult
cult."
out. You may like
Yeah.
it.
They have snacks. 10 out of 10 cult
That would be
members
the
say
only thing
cookies
that
are
would get
good.
me.
The snacks.
See, that was the cult culture in EMS that like everybody got into it for was the free snacks, and they don't even give us free snacks around here. I was lied to.
Caitlin,
Can you imagine a
Aaron-
cult lying to you?
Yeah, that's crazy. Aaron's
God
hospitals
forbid.
do not have EMS rooms.
That's
There-
wild.
There's nary an Uncrustable or a 4-month-old string cheese to be had.
We should send some of these people out there because the amount of complaints about the lack of Uncrustables is way too high.
I mean, I'll be honest, whenever there was one of the hospitals that we have in our system that I guess lost the snack guy or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
the amount of phone calls and text messages I would get, and I was like, A, barely affiliated with that hospital in my role, and B, like very part-time in that area. But
Right.
like I was getting like, where's the snacks? I don't know. Like I work at night. I just assume there's no snacks at night. Like,
Right. I just assume you guys have eaten them
day.
all already. Like,
Hey, I have to close my window quick. There's people singing outside.
I prefer that you leave it open, to be honest.
Okay.
What are they
That's
singing?
fine.
what are they
I
saying?
don't know.
Is it a
something
cult?
from
Maybe they're
Memorial today.
chanting. They know. It's
Yeah.
their.
Dude, they found you.
Can you
Thanks.
hear it?
No.
Now your headphones are in.
I got a fancy mic here.
Yeah. I don't. Yeah, I
I
can't
think
hear
they're
them.
commemorating right now.
It is Memorial Day.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Are you calling the military a cult?
No, I'm saying there's a
No,
lot
because
of.
you can leave the military. You can't leave a
Well,
cult.
it is
That's
hard.
part of the one of the tenets of it being a cult is that you can't leave.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yes.
A lot of
I
my
would-
relationships have been like cults.
That's because you are toting the benefits of gaslighting, my friend.
I don't know
I don't
that.
think many good relationships start on the basis of gaslighting.
Yeah. That's
Yeah, but usually
fair.
I'm the victim.
Well,
That's why I'm trying to take control.
yeah. Well, is it kind of
Right.
like my boss is a jerk, so I beat my wife? It really, that seems like the same logic that you're applying there. Like I've been gaslit, so I shall gaslight other
Listen,
people that are not involved in my romantic life.
I think it's more like
whatsoever.
if you can't beat them, join them. You know?
Huh.
Or maybe you just find people who don't use gaslighting as a tactic when you have an argument.
Yeah.
Like
These
people who
people
have
exist.
some emotional maturity to say, you know what, maybe I could be wrong here.
Or
I'm not saying I am, but I could be.
somebody with no emotions at all,
That's
like me.
This is
not
crazy
any
talk.
better.
These
Well, I
people
don't
don't exist.
gaslight. I just don't understand emotions.
Well,
I'm genuine
not
when I tell you it
understanding
doesn't make
them doesn't
sense
mean
to
you
me.
don't have them.
I don't know. Sometimes I'm hungry.
That's not an emotion.
It can be, believe me, it can be.
And being hungry can cause emotions, but it doesn't. Hungry is not
What's the worst thing that you've ever done from being just absolutely angry at the fact you haven't eaten?
I like snap out and eat like 100 chicken nuggets or something. I mean, I stabbed a guy once, but like, who hasn't?
You know?
Yeah. Aaron, before she answers that, you remember when we talked with Juanita about the cakes and pies and watching the My 600? She was part of the other crew getting
Yes.
cakes and pies. She's
There's
part of
something
the.
satisfying. It's just like about sitting in front of a TV watching somebody try to lose weight while you're eating garbage.
I don't know. I see, because I'm the fat guy trying to lose weight, but yeah, I guess if I had like people watching me whilst eating cakes and pies, it might be somewhat of a motivator. I don't know. Next time I go to the gym, Caitlin, if you want to grab a pie and just like watch me try to work out while you eat a pie, that would
Eat
be,
a whole cookie cake while you're in it. No, because then
yeah, it's
end up
safer
sick,
for
which is a miracle it hasn't happened with the number of snacks that I eat.
See, I'm just trying to keep myself really healthy because I know that for me to lead a cult, it's going to be really demanding on my body.
Fair point. Well,
Yeah.
plus, like, you know, people like to follow attractive people. So, like,
That is part of being a cult leader.
yeah.
But it's
I'm
being
really behind the eight ball
depends
here.
if you want your cult followers to also be attractive. Because if you don't care about that,
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that should be the selection process: is choose dumb hot people.
Either that or like you have to appeal to like the uggos because
Right.
you're not really going to get
The
like,
Uggos, blind loyalty you get from the Uggos.
well, you do, but you also get a lot of people who are like, oh, they're like hot. I'm going to go hang out with the hot people over here.
there's also probably some benefit in having followers that you don't want to sleep with because then things get messy.
What's
Yeah.
the point of forming a cult?
Well,
I don't know. I mean, that feels like a question that you need to answer for yourself.
yeah,
That's a good
I
point.
don't.
Your
Is there-
purpose. Your
Is there
cult.
like a cult leader convention maybe you could go to? I imagine they would have pamphlets and whatnot.
Where would that be? If there were a cult
Oregon.
leader convention,
Oregon,
It would be in
Nevada, Utah,
Epstein's
but
Island.
not like Vegas, like just in the middle of the desert,
Right.
Nevada, like hundreds of miles away from other human beings.
Yeah.
Like they
I
have
could
in a
ask the guy who
secret
just bought
location.
Epstein's Island for like half the price if we could do it there.
They probably, that seems like a place that might have a cult convention.
Yeah.
It did hold a form of a cult at one point, allegedly, I guess. Since that trial hasn't happened yet, or if it has.
No, they looked at the files. Nothing happened.
No, yeah. Because people are just notoriously like every time I
They
do
just said
something
that on the
wrong,
news
I'm
this week,
I'm gonna
bro. They
write
were
that
like,
down.
we looked at the files. Nothing happened. We're like, okay.
Yeah. Right. Because the first thing I would do if I did something
Yeah.
illegal is record it on paper.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, got to keep good notes of
Right.
times, dates, and who was present.
I mean, illegal activities are less illegal if you have good bookkeeping. So
That's right.
Well, and then they were like, so do you want to like maybe like release the documents then that you guys like reviewed? And they're like, nah.
Nah,
Why
sure
would we
can't.
do that?
Yeah.
just this is gaslighting at its best. Just believe us. Trust me.
Yeah.
It says what I want it to say. Okay.
I want to
And
know the person
you'll
who
never
bought
be
the
able to
island.
prove it otherwise.
So I'm pretty sure that this is true. That somebody bought the island for about half the value of what that island is worth.
What is the value of a rapey island? Like, how does
Well,
one
it's-
assess the value of that?
Well,
Well,
so
I
first
think-
you assess the value of an island,
Yeah, I don't
And
think
then-
it has anything to do with it being rapey.
I feel
and then
like
you
that
just say,
should
what will
certainly
the
affect
market?
value.
Then you will say, what will the market pay for this? And apparently, it was half the value of whatever that island was worth.
So,
Right.
but like,
Well, probably because it was rapey.
yeah. So, but who like, like, oh, I'm in the market for an island. Like, who do I go to see like what islands are
Great,
a
I
good
get
deal?
a discount rapey one.
Yeah, like where do I get? I
They
mean,
have it on sale this week.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm sure there's a private island broker somewhere.
You probably like until you're in that tax bracket, like you don't even know. Like I'll never meet that person.
Yeah, they're not bothering with you.
There's just
No.
like a guy named Kenny someplace. It's like, oh, you guys don't know Kenny? He's the island broker.
Just
Yeah.
in a van down by the river.
I don't know how I found myself on the side of TikTok that's talking about like chartering private jets, but I've like never felt more financially inadequate in my life. Like, oh, that looks so nice. I'm never going to achieve that. All right.
That is something I find myself doing as I get older, is spending more money to avoid people.
Yeah, no, it makes sense now for sure. Like I see the draw. Like
Yeah. Like some
Yeah.
people spend money to be with other people,
no.
and that makes no
Mm-mm.
sense to me.
Yeah.
Not me.
Like the
Certain people, just not everybody. Like if I had to go to an amusement park right now,
Mm-mm.
I would die.
Oh yeah. People are like, oh, it's first responder day. You can get in for free. I would rather die. No, thank you. I will
Right.
pay. Can I pay extra to have no other first responders there? Like, is that possible?
Yeah.
That would be of more value to me. I just
Right.
like I can't just like it's hot and it's noisy and everything is like slightly sticky.
Yeah.
And like the amount of
Right. The children are screaming
yeah.
and the food's not
Oh,
even that good. And like,
And you had to pay
no,
$20 for it.
right. Like I'll make my own kind of lemonade at home. Like it's not even
Yeah.
real lemonade that they're making. Like,
Yeah.
fuck off.
Did you know like the only like I'll be honest, the potato patch fries, those
Mhm.
were phenomenal in my opinion. But like you smother anything with enough melted cheese and like really it's a delicacy.
Why do only like amusement parks and stuff like that have funnel cakes? Like nobody else has a funnel cake. Like you can't
I'll-
go to a place and get a funnel cake.
I'll make you a funnel cake, Aaron.
I
Next
just
time
had
you-
one the other night actually.
Yeah.
I'm
Were
not
you
a
at an
huge funnel
amusement
cake
park?
fan.
Why don't we like funnel cakes?
No, where were you that you got it?
So they like shut down the main street in like the small town that like I work in. And they're like, no cars shall pass. And then they were
Only
doing a
funnel
weightlifting
cakes.
like they were doing a strongman competition.
And
And then they were
decided
like,
funnel cakes? Were
I'm explaining if you quit
Let's say-
interrupting.
Or something.
It's the most odd conglomeration of things. They were like, okay, we're gonna do a strongman competition, but then
Uh-huh.
also there's an entire block of just whoever wants to be here doing something. Like they had a band,
Any
an
good?
okay one.
That's good. Better than a bad one.
They had instruments and they were playing them.
Okay. So
And
they have
there was like people selling knickknacks, and then there was like a funnel cake stand, and I was like, what is the theme here? I'm trying to figure out what we are doing. And they were just like, there's the strongman competition. And you're like, yeah, but like, why all this other stuff? And they're like, cuz.
Right. Because if you're going to close down the main road in a small town, you might as well have other things there too.
Yeah.
Correct.
Huh.
I was gonna get like this knitted like
To a strongman competition, or did you just go for a funnel cake?
well, I was working and one of my
Right.
coworkers was participating in the strongman competition. So I was
Right.
like, I'll support him while I eat a funnel cake.
That's fair.
I offered him some of the funnel cake and he did not think that it would help improve his performance.
Why not? Carbs. Don't you carbo load before a strong athletic performance.
I think you're supposed
Listen,
to
bro, I
charge
tried to tell him.
4 hours in advance.
Well, fair enough. But
Like
Caitlin,
not right. Like like you
Yeah,
have you ever
you don't see too many professional athletes out there with funnel cakes.
where Michael Scott eats a whole bowl of fettuccine before he does the fun run and then he vomits like
that's just turbo powering it.
How, how many times have you watched The Office through?
So many.
uh a a bunch. I don't watch it all the way through anymore because I dislike the first like season or two.
Why?
The Roy parts drive me nuts.
Yeah.
So
Well, yeah. But
I'll
more
just skip this.
importantly, I hate to jump backwards. Did I hear you say you don't like funnel cakes?
I don't like funnel cakes. No.
Do
And
you
I
also
love
like
snacks, but
hate
funnel cakes
America?
are.
Like that's the most American snack there is. It's deep fried dough with sugar on
So
top.
I do like a deep fried Oreo or like if you
Yeah.
deep fry, like I had a deep fried Rice Krispie treat one time.
Sounds fantastic.
Delicious.
Never had it, but it sounds delightful.
Straight up funnel cake is, I don't know if it's like the amount of grease or the amount of powdered sugar or the combination of both, but I can only get like 1 or 2 bites in before like I want to vom.
Are you a commie?
Yeah.
Well, I also don't eat any cheese, so probably. When you
The
were
commies don't eat
describing,
cheese.
You would not
when you
fare
said
well in
something about
Wisconsin.
potato patch fries and you were like, well, anything tastes good smothered in cheese, I cannot relate.
Fair enough. But yeah, you
So.
would not fare well in Wisconsin.
No,
They like
no.
they're like I don't know if it's officially their state food, but like deep fried cheese curds. Like it
Right. Yeah, pass.
they could put it in funnel cake batter. Like,
I do like apple pie. Does that redeem me at all?
I mean, it's American for
Not a
sure.
total commie.
Yeah, nah. I mean, we might be able to take you off the watch list.
That's
So,
good. That's good. I also love a hot dog, so there you go.
yeah. Here's a hot mic opinion. I am not a huge fan of the Costco hot dogs. I like the size, but the flavor's just not doing it for me.
Yeah. I
We don't
think
have a
most
Costco
people
around
buy
here.
them because they're $1.50. So
Yeah.
Dude,
And they're
whenever
huge.
Sheetz got rid of their hot dog deal, they
What?
had 2-for-1 hot dogs and then they upped it to $1.50. And I was
yeah,
like, what is the world coming to?
Yeah.
inflation, man.
Yeah. I don't know.
What is the world coming?
Yeah. Did you riot?
I was pretty upset.
Yeah.
I think I commiserated with some friends, and then there was probably a ceremony of sorts.
Okay.
I
Fair
think
enough.
you should ask your employer to increase your wage just so you can afford hot dogs again.
For
Yeah.
real, we did get a 50-cent raise recently, actually.
So I'm not really sure why you're complaining because they offset the cost
Well,
of
we're
hot
just
dogs.
we're just
Right.
keeping up though. Like I want to buy more hot dogs.
Well, you can go back every hour, or if you want it purely come out of your raise every 3 hours, you can
Right.
have
So
another hot dog deal.
So at my old service, they had like a meal expense thing built into like the benefits. And so if you went on a long distance transport, you were given $10 for meal that you could just write off, just had to return in the receipt. Well, me and my partner, we actually did 2 of them in the same day. And so we called our boss on the way back from the one, and we were like, "Hey, so this we were just getting clarity on like how much money we had for budget because we were like, oh, maybe we'll stop and get something a little bit nicer than like fast food or something since we'd have like $20 each."
Yeah.
And then I had an idea. I was like,
How
"Hey,
many hot dogs could I get?
2-for-1 hot dogs, $40 between the two of us. We could realistically get 80 hot dogs."
But like nobody would ever need 80 hot dogs.
No,
Would you
and so
Joey Chestnut over there? Like, come on.
so we called our boss, and we were like, "Hey, if we were to do this, would we get in trouble for turning in $80 or $40 worth of hot dog receipts?" And he was like, "I don't see why you would. Just don't understand why you do it."
Right.
That's and obviously because I can.
Yeah. So the conclusion we came to is that we decided not to do it.
Nah,
It's a valid decision.
Mostly because we just didn't want to wait that long.
you would for sure want to call that one ahead. Be like, hey, I'm
Right.
coming in. I'm getting $40 worth of hot dogs. That is, yes, 80 hot dogs.
Yes.
This dude I worked with before the job I have now, he went to Sheets and came back with literally 12 hot dogs, which if you know anything about the Sheets ordering system, you cannot order 12 hot dogs at a time. You can
I
order
think you go
up
up to
to
6,
nine.
right?
9.
Oh, is it not?
Hmm. And you can't double digit. So he literally would have had to go in and order the hot dogs twice and some combination of ordering to get 12 hot dogs. He's like, oh no, they made a mistake and accidentally gave them to me. Like, bullshit. Like, that's certainly not the truth at all. And then he ate all 12 hot dogs by himself. We're
He
like,
had
well,
a
if it was.
dozen hot dogs.
He also had at one point, I guess Wendy's had like a 50 nugget deal, and he ordered 50 nuggets. And one of our coworkers was like, oh, hey, man, let me get one of those. He's like, no, I need all of them. So,
That's a lot of
um,
nuggets.
yeah. So, yeah, he was tons of fun to work with. But
EMS attracts the weirdest people.
right, look at me. Well, we've had some fun here today. We got to get wrapping up for now, but hopefully you had some fun hanging out with us, Caitlin.
Yeah.
We'll for sure have to do this again. As long as
Because if you
Aaron's
come
not,
back, it's considered a cult.
yeah, as long as Aaron's not too busy leading a cult by then. And
Yeah.
forgot about all of us small town EMS folk.
This is the cult.
Oh, it's um want to just quickly say thank you guys for hanging out with us today. If you're interested in being on the show, please send us an email at thanksfortheconsult@gmail.com. And don't forget to like and subscribe on whichever platform you're listening and or watching.